New Mexico Young Actors, our mission is youth creating theater for youth. And so all of our roles are held by children between the ages of 9 and 19. And the main goal is for us to bring theater to the children of Albuquerque and New Mexico. And that's what we're doing. So we're training children in the dramatic arts, and we're bringing theater to other children. The age differences between our actors, we work with 9 to 19, is one of the most challenging things about New Mexico Young Actors, as well as one of the most rewarding things about New Mexico Young Actors, because you see this beautiful thing where the older kids learn to relax a little bit because the little kids love them no matter what they do. And the little kids learn to get a little more serious, take it a little more seriously, because the older kids are going to look at them like they're being annoying when they're too goofy. And so it's this really great effect where the young kids rub off on the old kids in a good way, and the old kids rub off on the young kids in a good way. And I see that happen every semester. I have only ever worked with kids. I was one of those weird teenagers that knew I wanted to work with kids. I was in high school thinking to myself, I want to work with kids someday. And I was a kid myself thinking that. There's something about kids that it's all about possibility. And I never feel depressed or really low when I'm working with kids, because you know that their future is before them. Anything is possible. And that you can have this profound impact on their lives and become a role model in their life, or a person in their life that has significance, that shapes who they are and what then they go on to do. And you can help them understand that they are beloved and beautiful, and that who they are exactly as a human being is just perfect, and that they have a place in the world. And I love that. I love that you can pour your love into a child and they receive that, and it shapes who they are and how they end up being in the world. For me, that's what it's about.
I was 9 years old when I first came to New Mexico Young Actors, so I was really nervous, but it was amazing the first day I was here because Miss Rachel was my director, and she was so welcoming and so fun and exciting, and all the other kids there were really nice and kind, and they were a lot of fun, and we'd play all these theater games that, well, they were really exciting because I'd never done something like that before, and they included me in it even though I wasn't good at it yet, which was really nice. And I was able to really improve my skills as I went along, and I am definitely a much better actor than I was back then. And I've made a lot of friends. Some friends I think I'm going to keep for the rest of my life because we've gotten really close.
So I came when I was 9 years old, and I did Drama 1. And after that, I have been in about 5 shows since then. This will be my 5th. And I love NMYA because it's like a family, and it's always been a very safe place for me. So if I come and I'm having a bad day, everybody here is just so wonderful, and it's like a big family. It always makes you feel better.
New Mexico Young Actors is really good at building community, which to me is one of the most important parts of theater. Theater is a cooperative art. It's shared with multiple people. It's not just one person doing a piece. It's everyone. And New Mexico Young Actors really focuses on that. Like, we're in this together. How do we bring our gift? How do we bring art to the stage when we're going to perform? They really put a lot of emphasis on community, which is something that I have experienced before, but nowhere near to this extent. Like, everyone is so kind and open and loving and really just ready to like experience and build new things and ready to like perform their best. So that's why I think it's important to continue the program and encourage new people who want to do theater to try it, because it's a great way to experience theater with other people.
Theater teaches you important things like projection, confidence, how to introduce yourself, how to project to an audience whenever you're presenting something. And like for me, when I was younger, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had very low confidence and everything. And so when I joined New Mexico Young Actors, it really gave me a lot of confidence, and it helped me like figure out that I wanted to go into theater growing up.
Because when I was younger, there was these older girls who would kind of teach me what to do and encourage me when I was nervous, and now I do that for the younger girls I meet. So it's just a really sweet environment.
I'm an actor, and I've been working with NMYA for only a year. To work with younger and older folks, it's amazing because you can learn from older, like I've learned a lot of stuff from Camry and David, uh, and they're awesome. They're amazing. They've taught me a lot with emotions and feelings, movement. They've taught me a lot. And with younger folks, you get to be that role model. You get to teach little younger folks how to give them that their character, their emotions.
There's a lot of paths and connections that help young actors. It's more than acting. I think it builds up the students' confidence in public speaking, or even in their everyday school life, so that whenever they have to stand up in front of their own class, they're not afraid to stand up there and read an essay that they've written. When it's their turn, they're not going to be shy. They're going to express themselves.
New Mexico Young Actors is focused on building community and love and friendship, and really just what theater is about, like spreading your gift, spreading love, and spreading hope to an audience, you know, bringing your gift and art and spreading it to the world. So right now I'm playing Ursula in our production of The Little Mermaid, and I'm really excited to see what new experiences that this can bring, because New Mexico Young Actors has really helped me like grow out of my shell ever since COVID, and like really find that sense of community again, really find myself through other people, and hopefully people find themselves through me. You know, we share our experiences and we grow and change, and I'm really excited to see what New Mexico Young Actors, what their new challenges and experiences will bring for me.
I started at NMYA 4 years ago in 2019, and I can't believe that my life has changed a lot since I have started NMYA, because I have always had a love for theater and have always cared about like just performing on a stage and like giving like my full potential and the talent that I love to do, and like just every single time that I'm on a stage I just feel happy, and it just makes me feel like myself, and there would be nothing I would change to make it different. I love NMYA, and there was nothing that I would change about it.
We want to put that hope, that inspiration in all of the young people's heads when they're out there watching the show, and help them imagine the fantastic possibilities that are there and possible for them to explore.
Miss Rachel, I have known her since I was probably 10. She directed my first show that I was in at NMYA. It was Sleeping Beauty. And I just remember I love the way that she is able to teach with like a very gentle demeanor, and she's so kind, but also keeps like the process going in an organized fashion. I think it's just amazing the way that she can be so gentle and kind while still getting business done. I love Miss Rachel so much, and she was really the one who kind of got me started at NMYA, so I'm so thankful for that.
So I met Rachel in 2021. My first big full show in the fall was with her when we did Treasure Island. She really loves working with the plays, and Rachel is, she takes nothing from no one. She's very like steadfast and ready to work. But what I love about her is that she's also really fun, and you know, you can joke around with her, and she's really open to new ideas. But she's also ready to get people on track, to get them to where they're going. We pulled off the show, like we were ready to perform 2 weeks before we were even set to go and perform. And touring, you know, for the first time, going to different schools and packing up our touring bus and like going everywhere was really stressful. So the fact that she was able to keep it very organized, like this person grabs this person unloads this is how we set up our stuff, really helped, because Rachel is she's a very strong presence. She's confident, she's steadfast, and she's willing to work with people, but also put people to work.
They're in two clusters. The youngs stay with the youngs, the olds stay with the olds, and you can watch it every single semester. They eventually start to break those boundaries that they've set for themselves, and they start to become friends, and they get to know each other, and that's when that kind of magical cast bonding and melding really begins to happen. And it happens every time. if I'm doing my job as a director well, it happens every time because kids aren't naturally going to do that necessarily. I think it's the adult's role in a production, working with kids, to give them tools to get to know each other and to force them to cross boundaries. A lot of times I'll do a warm up and I'll specifically say, I want you to choose somebody that you do not normally talk to work with as your partner for this activity. And that's why I'm doing that, because it's forcing them to make choices that on their own, humans are shy, right? Like they're not going to do it.
Telling a story of a greater experience. And something that I love about that is that it's an art. It sometimes won't have a lights, it won't have big like music, it won't have like big dance numbers. It's just showing how to tell a story, a way to show a person's life from a different perspective, maybe in their shoes or maybe in a way that people haven't experienced before. And that's something about theater that people should listen to more rather than it's just something as a job.
Well, I bring Rio because he wants to be here. And it's funny, I'll tell you a little story is him and I, we went to a play that NMYA put on. And we went with the school. It was a school field trip. And him and all his friends are sitting there like, this is boring and whatever, you know. And so after the play was over and I took all his friends home, we're in the car and I'm like, hey, is that something you'd like to do? I could just tell he liked it. And he's like, honestly, yeah. So the next time that a class was open, then I enrolled him and he's just fallen in love with it.
My son Joaquin is on his 4th year with New Mexico Young Actors. We were introduced to the program through some friends of ours. And at the time, they were looking for more boys to join the program. And my son has always loved acting and theater. So the spring of summer 19, we came on board and he's been here ever since. And the program has been amazing for him. He's made lots of friends. He's learned a ton of stuff about theater and production and what you have to do to put on a great show for people. These kids in this program are his family.
I've been choreographing with New Mexico Young Actors this will be my 4th year. And I love to choreograph for the shows that we put on, as well as help the kids with their summer program.
It's all about like trying to learn the ropes and like this is how we're going to start. This is how the next few weeks are going to go. You know, they bring this is when we go off book. This is when we perform. These are the dates that we perform. This is when we'll have your costumes done. And then this is when we'll start bringing in certain props. Usually towards the beginning, our props are like sort of just like chairs and not the final thing, but something so we can get like a sort of idea of what we're first starting out with. So it can be kind of stressful in the beginning to kind of get used to all of that stuff, especially for people who are younger, who it might be their first time, you know, doing a musical or even just working with us to get accustomed to that. But once, like after the first few weeks, when you like start going regularly and you meet people and you know them better and you know more what's going on, it becomes a lot more fun and exciting.
As a director, it's very scary to see them still reliant on their scripts and their faces are down in their books. And there always comes a moment in every show, in every play, when you have to force them to get their faces out of the scripts and look at each other and react and be in the moment. And until they make that transition, again, it's not a play. They're not telling a story. They're just sitting there saying their lines and listening to other people say their lines. And so we have to get off book. And I always give my kids their off book date from the very start of a rehearsal period so they know what they're working towards. And it's when they're off book, when they don't have scripts in their hands, that's when you see that transition. And you see it transform from kids saying lines on a stage together to characters being in a story, reacting to a story, reacting to each other's characters, and reacting as a character. And you'll never see that, in my experience, you never see that until their scripts are out of their hands.
I always feel so excited to rehearse because, you know, you get to see people that you love. You get to work with them side by side. You make mistakes, but you can recover from those mistakes. And working on them is just a blast.
You know what? They're so loving and supportive. I remember, so last semester was my son's first time for auditioning. So he took the beginning class, and then when you take the advanced class, then you audition. And he didn't know what to expect, and he was very nervous and maybe a little quiet. And when he came out of that audition, all the adults that were in there, the director and whoever else was making the decisions, they all came out and told him, "You did so amazing! Like, you're such a good singer." And I think that boosted his confidence, like from here to to here. And they're all very professional, and they're all actually all very loving and just supportive.
Very powerful to get to work with some of these kids now for me for 9 years, right? To have taught a child in the Drama 1 class back in 2015. And the fact that they're still with our company and now they're one of the lead actors in our company, to see that growth is incredible. I love it. And I love to talk to their parents about it. I love to share and say, oh, I remember when so-and-so was first in Drama 1, they were so awkward. They were so self-conscious. And then I saw them in this role and I directed them in this show. And now, oh my gosh, look at her. She's a leader in this company. She's so bold. She's herself. She takes risks. She leads other kids. She's a pillar of this company now. And I taught her in Drama 1, and she was so insecure or self-conscious or nervous to be herself on the stage. And to have seen that transition, honestly, it's such a blessing of this job. I love it. It's so fun for me. And that's something, too, I reflect on with New Mexico Young Actors and this idea of being a third space, not job, not work, not church, not home, but this third space. There's so few places in our society where kids are working with the same adults year after year after year. This concept, this idea that you can interact, you can benefit from the coaching of the same teachers in your life, the same drama teachers in your life for year after year after year, that is also what makes NMYA a powerful organization. Because, at school, you might get a good teacher for 1 year. Maybe if you're lucky, you go to a school with multi-age classes, you get her for 3 years. You have a new basketball coach every year. Your soccer coach is constantly switching out. But here, I've known these kids for 8 years, and I hope to know them for 8 more years. And it's just like it cycles through. And so I think that's really powerful, that continual relational piece. And then kids move on, but then they've shared their stories with the new kids, and then those new kids share their stories with the new kids, and it continues. It goes on and on.
New Mexico Young Actors takes kids that have no idea what they're doing, and it gives them purpose, it gives them strive, it gives them confidence, and honestly, it's an incredible program that I don't know where I would be without it. That start is a little bit rough in the first show, but then by the very last show, everyone knows what they're doing, everyone's gotten comfortable on stage. I remember last year I came to visit one of the productions and I saw the first show and I was like, oh my goodness, that was really rough. And then I came back for the very last show and everything looked amazing. The choreography looked great, the lines, the kids moving through stage sets, the kids learning how to improvise on stage was also really great to see. And so it's very important to recognize the growth that the kids take, even if it is just a week for an hour every day. The growth is very impressive.
New Mexico Young Actors is such an incredible organization because not only do we provide really, really excellent performing arts instruction and quality productions, we also love to focus on the education piece to give the students a really well-rounded idea of how performing arts can help them in their lives in other aspects besides just the stage.
What is fundamental to the process is for the kids to know each other and to trust each other and to be able to have fun with each other. And so everything I do is leading into that. If the kids don't know each other's names, then we're really not going to make a good play together. If they can't tease each other and trust each other in these goofy theater game scenarios, the improv games, if they can't trust each other to take risks with those kinds of things, then the play they make is going to be terrible. It'll be a flat play with no dimension, with no emotion. It'll be a horrible thing to watch. So for me, I always start with the fundamental act of the kids getting to know each other and having fun together. And we laugh a lot. And that for me is genuine. I'm genuinely having fun when I'm working with the kids. Because if I'm not, again, I think that infects the process. If they don't see me having fun and see me taking risks and joking and laughing with them and being embarrassed when I do something wrong in a game, then they're not going to do it themselves. And so for me, that's how I build a play, from the ground up, with us having fun together, becoming friends, knowing each other's names.
New Mexico Young Actors is super important to our community. Well, first of all, we perform shows which people like to come to and they enjoy. A lot of schools will come to our shows, and that's how I found out about New Mexico Young Actors, is going to see the shows and then being impacted and wanting to try theater. It's a big reason for why a lot of kids in Albuquerque get into theater at all. And if it weren't for NMYA, I feel like we would have lost so much talent in just kind of the pipeline that can be Albuquerque. So I am so thankful for it.
Every semester we do 2 shows. The musical is presented traditionally at the Chemo Theater in downtown Albuquerque, and school groups come to us for a field trip. And we'll do typically 3 shows for school field trips with 600 kids in attendance at each of those shows, with 2 public performances on the weekend for the parents and family to come see. And that's so exciting, because when kids from schools, they come to see a show at the Chemo, it just feels really big. It feels very important, like real theater is happening, right? And so that's, I think, the audience kids walk away from that feeling starstruck, and our performers walk away from that feeling so proud of themselves because they performed in this really cool old venue, the Chemo, right? The other show is our touring play. And this is always a straight play, meaning it's not a musical. And this one, we take on tour to local schools. I love the touring play. It is so much fun to go with the kids on tour. And what ends up happening most semesters is a lot of the rural towns call us, and we end up traveling. We've traveled to Cuba, we've traveled to Mountain Air, we traveled to Belen and Los Lunas all the time. We've been out to Rio Rancho. I think we're going to Algodones this spring, which is going to be really fun. And so we have a truck, we unload the truck, we set up our set in the school gymnasium or the school cafeteria. We get into costume behind the flats, and the kids come in, sit right there on the floor in the gym, and we give a show, and they love it. And then the actors take a curtain call, and then they introduce themselves to the kids. And they say their name, their age, and their school. And that is always my favorite moment, because the kids in the audience cannot believe that the actors they've just seen performing are actually just children that might go to, Montessori of the Rio Grande or Montezuma Elementary and are 10 years old. It's shocking. That moment is shocking. And that's my favorite, because that's when the kids in the audience get this idea that they could be doing this too. And many of them do.
Youth performing for youth. There is nothing more powerful for a young person, 9, 10, or 11, or even in high school, performing on stage, singing, dancing, or just acting, and knowing that their audience are their same age or very close to it, because that means they're relating to one another. You know what I'm talking about. Adults, sometimes the children don't listen to the adults, but whenever children see other youth, it is a powerful element. And I want my young actors to know that they are capable of creating magic on stage. It takes a lot of rehearsal. It doesn't just happen. It takes acting technique, a whole series of skills of learning how to approach a role, and it takes working with an ensemble. You are a group.
One of our big fundraising goals right now is NMYA is looking for its own building. So this is our 43rd year as a company. And in those 43 years, we've rehearsed and performed in a number of spaces. And what we're trying to do is bring all of that under one roof. We want to have our rehearsal space, our office space, a performance venue, a small performance venue, and set build and set storage space, costume storage, all in one building. And we want to continue to grow the company so that we're kind of like a one-stop shop for performing arts, for families who are looking for performing arts training for their kids. And so you come to NMYA and you can take any number of theater classes, and you can take any number of dance classes, any number of vocal lessons, and you perform in our major productions. You could drop in for an improv class, you could take Shakespeare classes, lots of different focused acting classes, and all of that's happening in one building instead of our current situation, which is we're rehearsing in one spot, we've got an office in another, sets located elsewhere, costumes in another place. I want to bring it all into one building. And that's what we're fundraising for. And this is going to be a huge project. So this is what we're looking for help with, because we think the NMYA is such a valuable contribution to Albuquerque and such a valuable contribution to New Mexico culture.
Does take the community of Albuquerque in order to make a theater company successful. Not only New Mexico Arts and the Urban Enhancement Trust Fund, but I'm talking about individuals, because it's the individuals that help volunteer to help build the stage sets, that usher, that work backstage, that help market the program, but more than importantly, believe that our youth deserve more than just a passing opportunity at this crazy thing called theater.
So definitely come see our shows. And if you are an inspired actor who wants to be, come to NMYA. They will teach you so much. I've learned a lot.